Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly. I've been seeing a lot of people ask about the two new heavy machine guns that are in the same vein as my favorite HMG, the Thunderlord. If you guys haven't watched my comparison on Nemesis Star and Thunderlord, then you don't know how I tend to gush about this weapon and just how much I appreciate what Bungie was going for. Today though, we're not after performance on these weapons, but we are concerned with the inspirations for these guns, and that may give us more information and background on the weapons themselves. Where to start is the question. Thunderlord was the first weapon we had available to us, so why not start there? They rest quiet on fields afar, for this is no ending but the eye. Hymn of the Thunderlord. Halt there for a bit. The eye of the storm? The fields they refer to here is a vast crater known as Mare Imbrium, site of a terrible battle in which thousands of Guardians lost their lives at the hand of Crota. That story's for another day, though. Known as the largest in the solar system so far, the crater spans around 1,150 kilometers. Imagine this as the site of a battle, open, pocked with ruts and holes from when the moon formed some 4.5 billion years ago. Imagine being trapped in that crater, with the towering mountains on the edge of it being anywhere from 5 to 7 kilometers high. Imagine that being your last stand. This weapon's history and mechanism are both shrouded in ritualistic awe. Each round fired is another word in the legend, and the Guardians who bear the Thunderlord will be immortalized in song. Thunderlord was one of the weapons at the Battle of Mare Imbrium. The name the weapon bears could be related to the style of bullet it fires, being arc, or could also be related to weathering the storm of the darkness and the hive. Of course, that's never good enough for me. After all, inspiration is taken from many things in Destiny, so let's go further. The first time I heard Thunderlord, I immediately read it to mean something related to Thor from Norse mythology. Could have been because Marvel was getting big at the time and Thor was steeped in my brain pretty hard, but it's hard to not make the comparison. It just seems to make more sense to connect it to Thor, Odin's son. Speaking of Odin, he only had one eye. Yeah, we're reading into this pretty far, but hear me out. I'll summate the story as best as I can. Odin, while on the trip to the world tree Yggdrasil, stopped at a well for a drink. The guardian of this well was named Mimir. Mimir was thought to be the force that guided people in then-current-day Viking culture to remember the past as a guide to their actions as they went on through life. Being a culture that highly respected their past, their dead, and their homes, the Vikings, and even Odin himself as their king, would take heed to listen to the counsel of this being. For instance, when he told Odin he would give him a drink from the well in exchange for an eye, Odin gouged his own eye out and left it fall into the well. Eyes have a very significant place in history among literature, oftentimes being related to wisdom, clarity, light, a gateway into a person's soul. The list goes on and on. By Odin giving up his eye to the well in Mimir, this is thought to be a symbol that nothing would stop Odin in his quest for knowledge and wisdom. The same could be held true of the creator of the other two weapons. From the space between I come. Fragments of stars burn in my footsteps. In my hands I hold death. Song of the Nova Mortis. Oh, please, don't let this turn into another episode of What is the Void? That sentence alone gets my brain churning again. I have covered the Void in a very lengthy video that, if you're interested in knowing more of my thoughts, does this passage quite a bit more justice, but to highlight a bit, the space between and fragments of stars feels to relate to black holes, and of course, the space between the stars, the cold between the stars. Nope, not doing this again. Before he died on the moon, the Titan who wielded the first Thunderlord created two variants of the mighty weapon. Nova Mortis harnesses the power of the Void. Notes found on the original schematic for Nova Mortis reveal its creator worried the weapon was as dangerous to its wielder as it was to those in its sights. The notes section of the card really shows how hurried and quickly Nova Mortis may have needed to be put together. the Titan didn't have a weapon foundry backing up his development of this weapon. This would mean it would have just been thrown together. With no real testing and actual research put into the making of this gun, I don't know how Nova Mortis could be safe to use for prolonged periods. But this also comes back to the first half of the card. The Titan who wielded the first Thunderlord created two variants. This suggests that Thunderlord was made before the Battle of Mar Imbrium, and so the inspiration for the weapon's namesakes could be completely different, Thunderlord having a different creator altogether. With that out of the way, let's examine the name, Nova Mortis. Grabbing the definition for Nova, a star showing a sudden large increase in brightness and then slowly returning to its original state over a few months or years. This effect occurs when a white dwarf star starts to pull material from a larger companion star. Hydrogen is what is mainly stolen in this transference, and it can only be done when two stars are very close to each other. This is also largely cataclysmic to the host star that the parasitic white dwarf feeds off of in order to keep its light bright and survive. Also, don't confuse this with a supernova, as they are vastly different things. Mortis, Latin for of death, is a bit more self-explanatory. Oftentimes, we use it along with the word rigor today to mean rigor mortis, or one of the other 7 stages of death. I just depressed myself a little. Dog petting break! Yeah, this is nice. See, this is. I should just forget about combat and logs. Hey! What were you about to do? No peeing on my coat. No peeing on my... Do you know how expensive... No peeing on the coat. Jeez, no. Ugh, now I remember why I don't hang around dogs all the time. How does Saladin do it? Anyway, putting the words together roughly translates to Star of Death. No, not that one. This harkens back to black holes, as the center of a black hole is in fact a dead star. We know that Hive use remnants of dead stars, or as they say, celestial bodies, on their boomers. Of course, I wonder how this Titan was able to grab a piece of a black hole's center and shove it into a gun. Probably doesn't work that way. Speculation. We've been working for a while now to come up with ways to successfully infuse our light into weapons. Take Talalik, for example, a weapon that literally gets superpowered when your light overflows within. It could very well be that ABBADON and Nova Mortis are products of early attempts at this type of infusion, and why they are so dangerous to the wielder. Speaking of ABBADON, it's the last to look at. I am one with the flame, the conflagration reborn. I am your funeral pyre. Anthem of the ABBADON. A variant to the Thunderlord outfitted with a prototype fusion modulation device, the ABBADON is built for rapid domination of the enemy. Its mechanism is a delicate balance of barely contained power and brute force. Every round it fires contains the potency of a sun. Wait a damn minute. Fusion modulation device. Why you gotta make me science all the time? I'm pretty sure the first time I heard the word modulation was on Star Trek. Yeah, I'm a big fat nerd, have a laugh. I heard it when they talked about shield modulation and phaser modulation for defense and weapon systems. The act of modulating something is used today for, well, for me to actually talk to you right now as an example, transferring a signal over and through several wires to reach you. I'm paraphrasing really hard right now. There are many types of modulation out there, so to think there might be a way in the future to convert energy is far-fetched, but okay, it's sci-fi. Without talking about Newton and his laws of energy, it shouldn't be possible for this weapon to convert lightning into solar energy. Fusion reactions would give off electric and solar-type energies, however, so I suppose the fusion core is going to dispel the lightning energy into something? You know, ABBADON, I liked using you until I read this over. You're a time bomb in my hands. I was the Vanguard okay with me rebuilding you. One wrong move and boom, no more tower. And this totally makes sense, using this on a closed-in field of battle. Yeah, okay, I'm calling major bull right now. Anyway, now that I threw my ABBADON to an unspecified location, let's check out the history of its namesake. Abaddon, Apollyon, both names mean a lot in biblical history, and both mean the same things under Hebrew and Greek texts. I won't start quoting biblical scripture, but just know that Abaddon pops up in the book of Revelations, the final book in the Christian Bible. He was said to be an angel that commanded another host of angels, or to be their king, there to torment, but not to kill. Abaddon stands for destruction, quite plainly. The word springs up a few times in the Old Testament. I think it relatively self-explanatory of what we can say about Abaddon being a destroyer, and of course related to the gun itself. Literature has called up the name often for the same reasons, to bring up a personage of destruction. Today, we use it for the same reasons in television, books, games. Obviously games. I would never hold this unstable fieldwork on my hands in real life. Okay, maybe for a little while. The last thing I wanted to bring up, which is a bit of a tangential point from the main topic, is looking at the particular verse each weapon uses. Thunderlord is a hymn. Abaddon is an anthem. Nova Mortis is a song. Again, let's just hit the main definitions for each. A hymn. A religious song or poem, typically of praise to God or a god. Well, Thunderlord is a lord. Then again, Thor was also thought of as a god, just saying. An anthem, a rousing or uplifting song identified with a particular group, body, or cause. Yes, uplifting the idea of destruction, or hopefully the enemy's destruction, commanding a host of others underneath your rule. Sure, I'll take it. A song, a short poem or other set of words set to music or meant to be sung. I guess the void likes to be harmonious. A song is sung, usually with varying vocal tones. An anthem and a hymn don't necessarily have to be sung, so there's a reason they made such a distinction. You're praising the Thunderlord. You're reveling in the destruction of your foes. You're melodically in tune with those around you. Each wielder or wielders of these weapons had a different battle cry. I'd love to hear your thoughts on who you think wielded these weapons, or if you think of a certain subclass that would have. A Titan made them, but they don't necessarily feel like Titan-only weapons. It also makes me think that there were multiple Nova Mortis and Abaddons, but only one Thunderlord. I wanted to talk about these three guns as best I could to relate them to today's examples in our past, and as always, try to tie them in with what may have inspired Bungie to largely make the weapons as they did. Bungie uses and chooses words for a reason, some taken literally, others having side meanings, and, if nothing else, fun to speculate over to see what they might tie back to. As always, gang, I hope you were entertained, learned something, or just found a different appreciation for now 3 of my favorite weapons in Destiny. If you'd like to support the channel, but really aren't sure what to say below, just leave the phrase, "Try disaster" in the comments, and don't forget to like, dislike, and share to help the channel grow. As always, I've been Beard Grizzly. Keep your guns greased up and your lights strong, Guardians. Take care.